Good morning. Welcome back into Morning Moments with Jesus today. Pray that today finds you rested and ready for the gift of another wonderful day. Pray you had a great day yesterday. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 29, the Lord speaks to us this morning on how to handle stressful times in our lives. And dealing with stress sometimes means having to let go of some things that we're trying to support or we're trying to handle in our lives that keep us from really getting the rest we need and living a more stress-free life. Listen to what Matthew 11:28 and 29 says this morning. Come unto me all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lonely in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. Had the pleasure of spending a little time with our granddaughter this past week, and as we were sitting in our home, the wind began to pick up. There was a small storm cell beginning to move through, and she's not a big fan of storms, so I could see she was getting a little nervous. So the Holy Spirit really prompted me to use that as a teaching moment. So every time the wind would pick up, I would tell her to come over to the window with me, and we would race over to the window, and we would watch the leaves as they blew off the trees and danced across the yard, and we kind of made a little game out of that. And what I told her is that God has to use the wind and even the rain sometimes to bring all of those leaves and all of the hickory nuts and all of the things that grew on that tree off of that tree, so that that tree can have a time of rest through the winter. It spends all of spring and all of summer supporting those leaves, but there also has to be a time where it has to rest. And the only way it can rest is that God is allowed to blow those leaves off of that tree so it doesn't have to keep supporting them. And God began to speak to me and say, sometimes the reason why we stay under such a stressful situation is because God desires for us to have a time of rest. But we can't find that rest because we're constantly pouring all of our time and energy into trying to support things that we need to back away from and allow God to blow or move out of our lives so that we can find that rest that we need. So this morning the Lord is really asking a question to all of us, and I'm putting it before you this morning in our devotion. Do you need some rest from a very stressful situation in your life? Do you feel like you're under an enormous amount of stress, or you just can't seem to handle all the things that are going on in your life at the same time? Maybe it's because you're trying to deal with too much. Maybe you're still trying to support and give energy to something that God is trying to remove out of your life. You've asked God about it. You've prayed about it. You said, God, I need you to help me handle this situation. And maybe the winds of change are blowing through your life, and you just don't like that. You don't like change. You don't like having to let go of something that you've had control of for far too long. Maybe it's a season now that God says, I need to remove that. If you're ever going to find rest, if you're ever going to find peace, if you're ever going to find joy, and if you're ever going to let go of all the stress that you're under, then you're going to have to let go of some things. And sometimes that's what happens, even in that analogy I used for my granddaughter, that as God began to watch, we began to watch the wind blow, we saw the effects of the wind. Jesus speaks about that in the Gospel of John, where he said the wind blows where it wants to. You don't know where it comes from, you don't know where it goes, but you can see the effects of the wind blowing. And so it is with God's Spirit. Maybe God's blowing into your life right now a season of change. And maybe the winds of change are trying to remove something from your life so that you can finally have rest in that area of your life. So I speak that over you this morning and pray that you would get before the Lord today and say, Lord, are you trying to remove some things from my life, downsize my life? Are the winds of change blowing through my life for a reason and for this season? Maybe you've spent many years supporting and giving energy to something that now it's time, God says, to back away from that and let me move it on out of your life. So today you be safe, you be strong, and you always be blessed. And turn these situations over to Jesus. Let Him remove them out of your life. And know that in your season you did the very best you could to support and give energy to those things, that now it's time that maybe you let go. Lord's will, we'll see you back here again tomorrow. And until then, as always, I sure hope you have a great day. And I sure hope you spend your morning moments with Jesus.